Hello, I'm Bud McCord. I'm here in Brazil, South America. It is June 17th, 2021. Welcome to Food for Thought, Abiding in Jesus. We are in the study called The Satisfying Life. We're taking a tour in the vineyard of God's Plan A. There is no Plan B. There is only the plan that God has had in mind for all eternity. And we as human beings need to adjust ourselves to the fact that there is no backup plan. There is only God's plan. There is only God's way. There's only God's truth. There's only God's love. I hope you're well. I want to read John 15, 1-8 one more time. I never tire of reading this. I hope you'll listen to it with your heart open. We're still talking about the vine dresser and the vine dresser's place in each of our lives. Listen to these beautiful words of Jesus in John 15, verses 1-8. Remember, there is no plan B. There is only plan A. We want to talk about this plan A because it directly involves the vine dresser. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. You are already clean because of the word which I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me, and I in him, bears much fruit, for without me you can do nothing. But if anyone does not abide in me, he is cast out as a branch and is withered, and they gather them and throw them in the fire, and they are burned. If you abide in me, and my words abide in you, you will ask what you desire, and it shall be done for you. By this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, so you will be my disciples. Did you hear plan A in there? How many times the word abide is used? It's over and over again. If you go to 1 John and begin to read 1 John, the same author, inspired by God, is talking, and who wrote that epistle, the Apostle John. He uses that word abide. Now I know that in many translations of the scriptures it's now remain. I just happen to like the word abide. It's so much more intimate, so much more powerful in my mind for me to get a picture of this original plan. Now, here is the shocking thing. We know that the world is a mess. We know that the world is in chaos. We know that all around us, according to the scriptures, that the whole world is in the evil one. We understand that. But one thing we really need to understand is that the vine dresser, the whole human history started with God being the vine dresser or the caretaker of the Garden of Eden. The metaphor is perfectly clear. God, among human beings, wants love that is perfected and continuous. And love perfected and continuous is called love. Love perfected and continuous allows us to show that love exists, that God exists. This is the plan. Now, in the beginning, there's a man named Adam, and Adam is created by God in order to be first love. I personally believe that the role of masculinity in God's original plan A is to be the initiator of love. I happen to also believe that Eve represents the fulfillment of love and the fruit bearing of love, or the giving of life through love. So the masculine is supposed to be first love. I know that every good marriage I've ever seen has involved a man who understands that he must be the initiator of love for his family to work, not initiator of control or dominance, but rather the first to forgive, the first to turn the other cheek, the first to go the extra mile. That's why Jesus came in masculine form because he must be first love. He loved us first. That's why we love him. I want us, if we can, to remember that God is working the same plan ever since eternity. And he has chosen, in the words of Jesus, Jesus says, think of my Father as a vine dresser. As a vine dresser. Think of me as the vine. Think of yourself as the branches. Think of the goal as the fruit of the Spirit. Now here's a word that I wrote about this question of perfection in Plan A. We love and hate this beautiful, powerful word, the word perfection. When we think of perfection as something that God made, we love the word. When we think about perfection as something that we have to produce, we hate the word. Why? Because we know we cannot produce perfection or love. Only God can. We cannot produce perfection. And this is incredibly important for us to understand the work of the vine dresser. We cannot produce perfection, but we can receive it and release it. Remember when the Apostle Paul said that I am what I am by the grace of God. Well, every one of us as Christians should be able to say that. I am what I am by the grace of God. And the grace of God was revealed to us in Jesus Christ. So I am what I am because of Jesus being first love. The love that comes to us in flesh and blood. You remember that Jesus would say to us as his disciples, as the Father has sent me, Plan A, I have sent you. Some have called this Plan Adam. Do you know that Jesus is called the last Adam? The last Adam, or the ultimate Adam. Why is that? Because there's no Plan B. Abiding is still the plan from the very beginning. Adam and Eve were abiding in the Garden of Eden in the presence of the vine dresser, the farmer, the one who planted and cultivated the Garden of Eden. These metaphors are not just nice ideas. They're absolutely the truth about who we are and how we are to live. We exist not to produce or sustain love. We exist in Plan A to receive and release love. And while the way that we do this is by understanding that there has never been an alteration in God's original plan. And his original plan would be that we human beings would be his image in the world. That clearly involves the idea of masculine and feminine. It clearly involves unity and oneness between the masculine and the feminine, where they create an environment, or they are able to sustain an environment by God's grace of continuous love. And we need to become comfortable with this idea that discipleship, in its truest essence, as we said yesterday, is the perfecting of our ability to continuously love. If you read the Sermon on the Mount and you're paying attention to it, you can see that there's a narrow path. And this narrow path that Jesus describes is the narrow path that goes to the perfecting of our love. Now, that doesn't mean that we suddenly one day wake up and we are able to produce and sustain love. No, I believe we will always be branches. The same way I believe that we will always be the bride and we will never be the bridegroom. The bridegroom is Jesus. The church, in its role, is feminine. It's receptive. It takes the love that it receives into itself, and it allows that fruit of that to be conceived in us and delivered as love in us. Now, just to reinforce this a little bit more, because this is so critical in the tour of the vineyard, for you to understand that the vine dresser is not confused, has not lost control, has not moved away from the original plan, has not given up on humanity, certainly has not given up on you, and has not given up on me. And the commitment of the vine dresser is eternal, and it will not fail, because love cannot fail and will not fail. And we must find ourselves in this ecosystem, and we must remain. We must abide in that place. Listen to these words about love. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. But have not love, if I do not have love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. Love never fails. But whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect love has come, then that which is in part will be done away. When I was a child, I spoke as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, when I became a person who assume the position of being a love deliverer, I put away childish things. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I am known. And now abide, there's that plan A, abide. I now abide faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. Pursue love. Pursue love. This is the great calling that you have been called to allow God to perfect your receptivity, which is faith, to perfect your rejoicing, which is hope, and to have perfected your love. And when your love is actually perfected, you understand completely that it is not you that is doing the loving. You have been called into love, for love, by love. Remember yesterday we said sin is anything that impedes or inhibits or stops love. Love is the only thing that can destroy sin, impede sin, stop sin. You and I are called to holiness. We are called to be perfected in this ability to have faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Discipleship is the work of the vine dresser, which he began in the original Adam, and he never changed the plan. But he had to work the entire plan to keep humanity alive until perfect love could be among us, and that perfect love is Jesus Christ. Can you find yourself in this story? Can you find yourself? Do you understand that the role of the vine dresser, the role of the vine dresser in your life is to be perfect over us, all of us, moment by moment? And here's a verse that might help you to see this. It says, and we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. And his purpose has been made clear, that we are to love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength and love our neighbor as we love ourselves. There is no better plan. There is only plan A. And the plan A is the plan that God had in mind when he created Adam and Eve. And when they failed, he did not abandon the plan. He actually became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory. And he calls us back into the family that loves. And that is our discipleship. And that is what we must become. Our knowledge will cease. Our prophecies will cease. All of our doing of things will cease, but love will remain. And so we must abide in his love and deliver that love one day at a time, moment by moment. It, to me, inspires me. I'm in. I am in. This is the plan. It is the original plan. It is not over. It began in the Garden of Eden. It began in the mind of God before the Garden of Eden. It continues on. I'm a part of it. You're a part of it. Abide. Abide in the true vine. And out of you will come the fruit that God has wanted from the very beginning. And this will be how we will live for all eternity, by the grace of God, abiding in the love of God that was manifested in Christ. I'm in. I pray you are too. I would imagine if you're watching this particular video, you're in. Because these things come to us not because we're intelligent. They come to us by the grace of God in Christ Jesus. Have a great day.